2025 is going to be the year of our biggest rebrand yet, and we're starting with the personal brand. Something interesting happens when you have a strong personal brand. The opportunities that are coming to you that you attract are different. The people are different. The money is different. Everything is different when your standards for yourself are up here and everybody else understands that. I can tell you from my journey that my personal brand has actively changed my life, from being able to have a six-figure career this early on in my tech journey to being able to build an audience of high quality engaged people who are interested in their intellectual and personal development. Public speaking gigs, that has come from my personal brand. People know what I stand for, the type of energy that I'm bringing. And that's what I want to talk about today, how to build your personal brand in 2025, because it can seem quite confusing, or what platform am I on? What do I focus on? How do I actually articulate what it is that I stand for? That's what we're going to get into. So we'll talk about things that are more theoretical, but there will be actual exercises to do throughout this video, which you can either do as you go along or towards the end. I want you to take action. I don't want you to come away from this video thinking, that was interesting, but I still have done nothing. No, this is an action-driven channel, baby. So let's actually talk about what a personal brand is and why it matters. And actually, to illustrate this, I'm going to use some examples of people that all of us know, or most of us know. And the first one is Rihanna. What words come to your mind when you think about Rihanna? Perhaps bold, maybe fearless, a boundary pusher, multifaceted. This is a brand that has been cultivated over time, and it's been very deliberate. It's in her music, it's in her fashion, right? It's even in her business. When she launches something, it is pushing the boundaries. She launched a makeup line, right? And not having been in the makeup industry, and had one of the largest shade ranges of any other brand. And what happens is, when you now think of Rihanna, her associations are so strong that the type of opportunities, again, that she attracts, the type of companies that want to work with her, the type of brands that reach out to her or that she crafts, all form around this personal brand that she's built over time. Now think of someone like Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. What words come to your mind? Perhaps visionary, perfectionist, minimalist. This was a man who wore the same outfit every day because he didn't even want to think about what to wear. Like, he wanted that abstracted away. I'm so locked into the vision, to the mission, right, to my craft, that I don't even want to know about what I'm wearing. Now, I'm just a girl, so I actually still want to look cute and wear my outfits. But you see the thing that I'm talking about here again, when you see Steve Jobs, when he entered a room, when he was speaking, there was an understanding about what you were going to get, right? The energy that was going to be exuded, that this was a visionary in front of you. And it was embedded in Apple and the products that he was producing and the kind of aura around Apple, right? The fact that they're selling a product that probably does very similar things to other products for double the price, that is because of the brand, and that brand extended from Steve Jobs. And so hopefully it's becoming clear how the personal brand can help elevate you and the opportunities that you have access to, and the people that you have access to, the brands that you have access to, right? It allows you to stand out in a sea of people, in a competition, whether it be career competition or business competition or content creation, whatever it is, you stand out. You're visible because of your brand. But you also have credibility because of what you've been working on, right? And the associations of your brand. People trust you to an extent in whatever it is that you do and the brand is associated with. Like, I trust that if Rihanna's going to launch something, it's probably going to be something that's going to push the boundaries, or at least attempt to push the boundaries, do something new, right? Something bold. Right? When Steve Jobs launched something, you had an idea that there would be a level of high craftsmanship in it, right? He would be very particular about the aesthetics and about the user experience, that the vision would be there all the time. But there's also the idea about the connections people make with you, because when that brand is so clear, people know what they can expect from you, and that builds a bond that you can then leverage later on. So in summary, what is a personal brand? Well, it's not just what you do, and it's not just what you talk about. It's how you talk about things, right? It's how you show up. It's the energy that you bring. It's how you make people feel. It's the brands and the people that you associate with. It's what you look like. It's the impact you have on others. And so to wrap up part one, we're going to start off with a light exercise, but it's really just to get you thinking about the people that you respect, the people that you admire, and that you may want to start to emulate to an extent, right? So list some of your favorite celebrities or business people, or even people in your personal life, and the words that you associate with them, and think about why that is. Why is it that you associate these characteristics with this individual? So now let's move on to actually identifying your goals and your brand, because we've spoken about other people and we understand, why it matters. But we have to go back to what it is that we're trying to achieve so that we understand how we can leverage our personal brand to get to our end goals, but also to enjoy the journey as we're moving along it. It's really important that you understand your high level vision, right? What is the vision for your life, right? What type of individual do you want to be? What type of individuals do you want to be around? The opportunities you want to be around, right? And link that to your brand. So start off by stating, what is it that you are trying to achieve? Do you have specific career and business goals, right? Do you have specific artistic goals, perhaps? Content creation goals, right? What is it that you are envisioning for your life? Right? And it doesn't just have to be one thing, but if you have just a few select high-level goals, then we can start to craft a brand that makes sense with that. And here's the thing about a personal brand. It doesn't have to be every single thing about you crammed into the brand. That's not what this is. Right? This isn't, I'm a multifaceted person, and so every single inch of me has to be present in a brand. And every time somebody interacts with me, they need to know that I do this. This isn't what the brand is. And this is why it's really important that you understand the vision, because then it becomes tailored. The brand becomes tailored to the vision. And this is not to say that things don't evolve and that your brand doesn't evolve over time and start to, be connected to new things. Right? Evolution is a natural part of all things. So because this requires a great deal of introspection and spending time with yourself, the theory of this part is pretty short, but there are quite a few exercises that I encourage you to do in order to get thinking about your goals and your brand. Start by writing down some of your long-term high-level goals, right? Whether they're business, personal related, write these down. Now, think of 3 to 5 words you want people to associate with you. Now, I actually want you to think about a word to describe how you want people to feel when they interact with you. So this may be different to those other ones, because this could be something like inspired, curious, energized, calm. How do you want to make people feel? This is huge. And then, if you're a visual learner, as much as we've written things down, make a vision board of the things that you want associated with your personal brand, right? Taking some of those words and inspiration and form a vision board, something that you can look at. This is your personal branding vision board. Now let's talk about building a personal brand online. Now things are getting a little bit more practical again. So we've done some introspection. We're understanding what it is that we are trying to achieve and the brand that we are trying to form. But then how do you actually make that a reality? And we're going to start off with the online component. The internet has the ability to give you access to millions, if not billions of people, right? And your platforms are where people either one, find you first, maybe they find you on LinkedIn or Instagram. So that will be their first encounter, or it's an opportunity for people to solidify what they know about you if they've met you in person at a networking event or something of that nature. Either way, the online persona is going to be very important. So there's 2 primary elements to consider when thinking about personal branding online. The first component, regardless of the platform, is going to be those immediate things like your profile picture, the banner, the bio. These are things that people use to make an instant decision about you as to whether they should even continue to dig deeper, right? And know more about you. And the second are the long-term components. This is the actual posting, because obviously I can get a sense from you about your profile picture and your bio, but I haven't really formed a bond yet. That's going to come with the actual content, whether it is, written format or video content or photos. Right? This is how we're going to form a bond and an understanding of your personal brand that stands the test of time. But I do want to speak about the platforms that I think that you should be considering regardless of what it is you're trying to achieve. Now, the first one is going to be LinkedIn. And I know you've probably heard it already, but please. LinkedIn, again, can change your life. Think about it logically. There are millions of users on this platform, many of which are from a corporate or business, that sort of background, which means if you have intentions of building a brand that will one day maybe need, business investment or access to other founders or, professionals, even in your career, you should be on LinkedIn. You should be building that brand on LinkedIn. It's also where a lot of thought leadership happens because it has been branded in itself as the professional platform. People who are attempting to brand themselves as thought leaders are going to be here. And so if you are trying to enter a space, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be like highly corporate, I see creators on the platform. I see artists on the platform, founders on the platform. Please don't think that LinkedIn is just for, I'm trying to climb the corporate ladder in engineering. This goes way beyond that. The brilliant thing about LinkedIn is it is formulated on the network, right? You post something, somebody else sees it, then you have access to their network, right? The network effect is an integral part of LinkedIn, which is why it's so powerful. We're not only building your brand, but getting your brand out there into important spaces effectively. Now, thinking about LinkedIn, you may be like, I'm not quite a fan of writing. And you know what? That's completely understandable. It is not my first choice of communication either. However, you don't just have to write long posts, right? There is now video features on LinkedIn, which they are pushing. But also, you've always been able to use photos and carousels, so you can break ideas down, right? You can use pictures. In fact, it's highly encouraged to use pictures along with your posts. So there are multiple ways to get your vision across and your brand across on LinkedIn, even articles. Perhaps you are somebody who likes written communication and you're really good at writing, thoughtful pieces that get information across in a succinct way. Articles are also there on LinkedIn. So there are multiple mediums. There are multiple ways for you to solidify your brand on LinkedIn. It's not just one way. Now, the second platform I'm going to talk about and that I think is going to be really, really important in 2025 in your personal brand is YouTube. Now, naturally, I'm biased. I've been on YouTube for quite a while, but there are so many benefits to being on YouTube. For starters, it is the second largest search engine after Google. So in terms of exposure and visibility, there aren't many other places that are going to give you this level of that. But the great thing about YouTube is that people get to spend more time with you. And if you are building a brand, what you want is people to have time with you, enough time so they can understand you and again, what you stand for, what associations they make with you. And the beautiful thing is because you have more time here, you can combine things like storytelling and entertainment even in an educational video. It is a versatile tool for building authority in whatever section it is that you are. Even vloggers, think about it, and the time that you spend with particular vloggers, right? And you will have words that you associate with them, whether it be luxury or fun or, excitable. They're building a brand around that for a particular reason on YouTube. The other really beautiful thing about YouTube is that you can create one asset, like a long form video, and then use that across other platforms to again solidify your brand. Think about this. I make a video, perhaps it's 15, 20, 25 minutes long. I have that asset, but I also have the ability to cut that up into clips if I wanted to, right? And disperse those across Instagram, TikTok, even LinkedIn now, right? But I also have the ability to take some of those ideas into written format. Perhaps I have a blog, maybe on Substack, maybe I have a newsletter, or maybe I make it into a tweet, or maybe I make it into a LinkedIn post, all from that one YouTube video, that one idea that I created and crafted. So again, in terms of making a personal brand or solidifying a personal branding, making it as easy as possible, this one asset turns into multiple assets that we can leverage towards our goal. And thank you for coming to my TED Talk about why you should start a YouTube channel. No, I'm joking, but I'm actually not, because I do think you should start a YouTube channel in 2025 if you haven't. These two platforms, I think, are the ones that you should be investing the most time in 2025 towards your personal brand. That's not to say you can't be on Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat or whatever the other brands are and platforms. And in fact, there is value to be gained on those. And we can use some of our assets on these platforms. But in terms of where you should concentrate your efforts, especially in a world where people are craving more connection with you, LinkedIn and YouTube is a beautiful combination. Now, a final platform to consider with your personal brand is your website, a personal website. Now, you don't have to have one, but you also have a lot of freedom with the personal website, right? You can curate it however you want in order to get the message across, right? Through the imaging, through carousels, through embedded things like videos and so forth. You have more control over it. So whilst you don't benefit from exposure and visibility like being on the platform, you do have customization. That's just the final thing. I have all three of these. I have LinkedIn, I have YouTube, and I have a personal website. And I intend on optimizing each of these in 2025. So continuing with the theme of your online presence, let's talk about content, right? Because I've spoken about platforms, but we also spoke about the fact that long-term brand creation is reliant on the content that you're posting. So how do you decide what to post? Well, the very popular format is to use content pillars. For example, if you're a health and wellness coach, some of your content pillars may be around fitness routines, nutrition tips, and mental health. So those are your content pillars. Those are the things that you are going to be writing about. And actually you'll find when you start, there is a lot of things that you can be talking about, right? Based on your personal experience. And then also if you get stuck, we still have AI, we still have ChatGPT. Here, we can start to use AI to get our branding aligned with our content pillars. What do I mean by this? Well, you can feed chat information about you before you start asking about ideas for content, right? You can say, here is my high level vision, my goals. Here is my personal brand in terms of the words that I associate with it, in terms of the way I want people to feel. Now, given these are my 3 content pillars, provide me with a list of ideas for videos for LinkedIn posts. And so let's take it back to that health and wellness coach, right? We know that our content pillars are going to be around fitness, they're going to be around nutrition, and they're going to be around mental health. And I'm going to give chat information about my brand. Perhaps my brand is holistic, calm, kind. Those are the words I want people to associate with me and my brand. Because that could be very different to a different type of coach that may be like hard hitting, boot camp style, tough love. They're both in health and fitness, but they're very different energies. They're very different brands. Even if their content pillars were the same, you'd have a very different experience with one than the other. Even in terms of the visualization and the aesthetics that are associated with both. If you went on one page, you'd get a very different energy in terms of the photography, even the sounds that are used. All of these components tie together to give people an experience of you that goes beyond just a list of tips and content. So in terms of action steps, because I know that I have gone quite in depth in this particular section, but it matters, it really does. The first thing I want you to do is think about those content pillars, right? And also still think about the branding, still think about the words you want people to associate with you and the feelings that you want. But write down your content pillars, things that you want to be talking about, and start to brainstorm ideas around them. Use ChatGPT if you would like. In fact, I advise even just dabbling in it. Even if you don't use the ideas, sometimes just seeing the list sparks new ideas in your brain. That often happens to me. If I'm using chat, I might not like exactly what it said, but it's triggered something in my head. And now I'm like, actually, not quite that, but this links to something that I've been working on or something that I've, looked into. Don't be afraid to also use those branding words in more visual tools. So when you're looking for inspiration, think about things like Pinterest. And you can type in those words and see the type of visual associations that are turning up. So once you do that, I actually want you to take some action though, in terms of getting some content out there. You don't have to do this right now, but I would really like you, before the new year starts, to have your profile set up on LinkedIn and on YouTube if you're going to go down that route. We'll start with LinkedIn because I think it has a lower barrier to entry than YouTube. LinkedIn is simple enough to get set up right now, and if you have one, optimize it. Make sure that your profile picture, your bio, all of those things are aligned with what it is that you are trying to achieve in 2025 with that vision and with that brand. Think about that. So now what do we have? Well, we have an understanding of why branding matters. We have an idea about our visions and our brand and how we want people to feel and the associations we want people to make with us. We understand the platforms that we should probably be focusing on and putting energy into if we want to further our goals and our brand in 2025. We have some content pillars, things that we might start to talk about. And we've also utilized ChatGPT in order to formulate an idea. And the final thing I actually want you to do is think about how consistently you can post on these platforms. Don't commit to every day if you can't post every day. It's better that you consistently show up once a week, but every single week, then you burn yourself out, because I've done it before. You post like 5 times, then nobody sees you for 5 months. Think about the time that you have available to you, but also how you can optimize that time. Now, part 4 of this is building a strong offline presence, taking your personal brand into real life, in person. Now, why does this even matter? Well, I've spoken extensively about your online presence, but that does not negate the importance of interactions that occur face-to-face, right? The feeling that people get when they meet you, when they speak to you in person, right? When you are there in flesh, that is very different. And that has an extra layer to when you are building your personal brand. Now, I did a whole video speaking about networking, why it's important, but also how to actually get started and optimize your networking events that you're attending and so forth. So I won't go into too much depth, but I do want you to start to think about how your personal brand that you have been thinking about continuously throughout this video, throughout the exercises that you've done, how you can take that brand into person, in real life. Maybe it's the way you dress. Maybe it's about the things you talk about. Maybe it's, how you're going to introduce yourself based on these branding things we've been speaking about, right? Maybe it's even the type of events that you're going to go to, the pictures that you want to be posting and taking at these events, all of these things. And so for this section, after you've finished watching this video, I want to encourage you to go ahead and watch that. It's part of the series, the rebrand. Go and watch that video. But I do still have some exercises for you to complete in order to, again, start taking action. The first is that you're actually going to follow 10 people on LinkedIn in your industry. Now you're thinking, that seems more like a online presence kind of activity. But the reason why you're going to do this is, again, linking back to the network effect. People ask, how do I know what events to go to? How do people find events? They find them through the network. Once upon a time, that network was only the people that you know in person. Oh, so-and-so, I saw them the other day, invited me to this event. That's great, and that's a beautiful thing to leverage. But also use your online network. Build that out so that you know when events are happening in your industry, in the areas that you want to be in, the places that you want to be. So start right now by following 10 people on LinkedIn in your industry. Doesn't matter if you know them or not. The next thing you're going to do, though, is you're going to actually book in for at least one networking event in 2025. Now, if you can't find them through your feed, use the LinkedIn feature in order to search for events in your area, or go to Eventbrite. Those are your three options. Leverage the network and things that are posted there, actually search LinkedIn, or search for Eventbrite. If you also know of specific platforms that link to your industry, leverage those too. And try asking people. Ask people in your workplace or in your business, or people that you already know, what kind of events they're going to, where they're going to be in 2025. And so that's it. Personal branding in 2025. Now, I know this was quite a long video, but there is a lot to get through in terms of this, and each of these, again, could have been its own video. But at a very high level, I wanted to provide almost a big picture view of the brand that you are crafting and how you're going to be able to do that. From like introspection and ideation through to online and to offline, and with networking and the other videos that I have on my channel that you can access. I hope you're excited for 2025. Check out these videos if you want to get more in-depth information about any of these topics, and I'll see you in the next video.